Shervin, right, let's start by you just telling me a bit about yourself and your background, because like obviously we've crossed paths a lot over the last, oh god, probably a year and a half, maybe year or whatever it is, and I know little bits about you, but yeah, it would be cool to actually hear it from you and see what that's all about.
Yeah, so my story is I grew up in the United States, in California, Southern California, and my parents immigrated to the US and they raised me there. And a big proponent of them is like, you have to find a path in life that's like, it's a, you'll be financially safe and things like that. And that kind of mindset inspired me to study computer science and become a software engineer. And I did that. And then once I started working in the field, I was like, okay, now what? And I kind of felt like I wasn't achieving my full potential and wasn't doing the things I absolutely loved. So that's when I decided to kind of make a change, and I left that job and took a year to explore. Discovered I kind of knew what YouTube was, but I started to kind of dabble and watch a lot of YouTube, and I was like, I kind of want to create videos again because I used to do it when I was younger. And then I started to play a little bit, went into teaching yoga, and then started working again full time. Still dabbled with YouTube here and there, and then recently again in December of 2021 left my job again, and now I'm all in on YouTube.
I love this. Okay, so many things to dig into. I want to take it back. So, like, all right, Shervin, what's your kind of like family background in terms of where your parents and that are from? Because I think we might be quite similar, and therefore I've got some specific questions.
Yeah, both my parents grew up in Iran. They were both raised and born there. I'm like 75% Persian and 25% like Indian Pakistani. And yeah, that's kind of where my parents came from, and that's kind of the mindset that they came with when they moved here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I know that like growing up for me, it was very much you will go to school, you'll go to uni, you'll get a job, and you'll get married, and that's your life, and you'll kind of have kids, and that's it set, and you do the traditional things, the safe things, so to speak. So how was it like for them, or how is it like for them now that you've kind of gone off this slightly different path and it's not the traditional kind of corporate life?
Yeah, I think they're just waiting for me to get a job again.
Yes.
I think
Why?
I'm not going to speak for them, but I think it's like for them, it's like, oh, this is a phase. He's gone through a phase, and in due time, he'll learn that it's not best for him, and that he'll get back on track. Maybe he just kind of veered off a little bit, and this is a phase. That's what I think they think.
How does that affect you, if at all? Like, are you just like, hang on, that's cool, like I'll just let him think that and I'll carry on doing my thing, or does that ever actually get to you?
I think it used to get to me more when I was younger, but as you get older, I think you learn to give less, like care less about what other people think about you. But also at the same time, it's like it creates like fire. It's like, oh, I have this desire to want to prove them wrong and show them that like this other way is possible.
Yes, I love that. That's very, very cool. I think I'm very much with you. I've definitely in the past been scared of like, I kind of have to stick with my job no matter what, and anything else is a side thing. But I love the fact that you've gone in full time. Okay, so let's talk YouTube specifically. Why specifically did you start? Like, what was your reason?
I always had a natural tendency for video. So when I was younger, like I remember I wrote like a letter to my dad asking him if he could buy me an updated video camera back in the day when they were using tapes. He didn't. But I always loved technology and video cameras, and I just loved recording things. I remember just like always wanting to record this, record that. And then I just like enjoyed watching YouTube, and I was like, okay, I love recording. I love watching YouTube specifically. How can I do that? How can I take my recordings and turn it into content that would be enjoyable on YouTube?
Did you always think that you would be the face of that YouTube channel? Like, was it, because obviously there are some people that like making videos, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be in front of the camera. They're happy being behind the camera. What was that like for you?
Yes, I guess there's also like an ego aspect to it. When I was like in elementary school and middle school, like I always wanted to run for like positions of power, I guess, or like, for president, for vice president. I did that every year growing up. And I think part of it was like the desire to want to be on a stage. And for me, YouTube is kind of like a stage. So yes, I would say I did have this desire to want to put my face because like that was me performing and me being on stage.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, when you started then, did you have much beyond the fact that you knew you just wanted to be in front of the camera, or did you kind of have a little bit of a plan or an idea of what you wanted to make content about?
I just want to be a vlogger. I want to grab the camera and be like, what's poppin', everybody? This is my day. So honestly, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted to make videos, and I was seeing these people create content, and I was like, oh, that looks easy. I'll just do that. But to be honest, I had no idea what I was doing, and I was making the worst content in the world.
Were you a Casey Neistat fan? Are you kind of in that group of people, or were there?
Yeah, the whole daily. I did daily vlog for a while. Like I did multiple rounds, like 30 days, 100 days, and I did go through that multiple times. I didn't fully complete all the challenges every single time, but I did do it. But no one watched other than myself and my other YouTube account.
Oh, okay, that's still 2 views. Okay, hang on. So you started about 5 years ago, is that right? I haven't made that up. So what, we're in 2022. So you started about 2017. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have okay? So I guess there's a lot of fear now. Well, not necessarily fear, but there's a lot of people that go, I want to start a YouTube channel, but the usual questions come up of, like, it's so saturated, like, is there even any point now, or blah, blah, blah. And I imagine those were still the kind of things that people were talking about in 2017, given that YouTube has been around for a lot longer. Did you have any of those thoughts, or was it, hang on, I've decided to make a YouTube channel, I'm literally diving headfirst in? Like, was there any hesitation or anything there? Like,
those people that think that are absolutely wrong. There was no hesitation. I think, like, it's just funny, and I'm gonna make this analogy that most people might not get or care about, but like Bitcoin. There's like these funny posts that people will put of like people saying, "Oh, I'm late to the game. I only have 600 Bitcoins. Like, I'm so late to the game." And it's like, you look at that now, and it's like, no, you were so early to the game. And I think the whole like cryptocurrency world, like, yeah, it's still evolving, and people still think they're late, but yet they're so early. It's like, you get in now, you kind of put yourself on the platform and you start creating things, like, you're early. YouTube has so much more space to grow. If you go out on the street and ask people, like, do you know who Mr. Beast is? Like, a lot of people will probably say no, even though he's the biggest creator on the YouTube platform. If you ask people if they watch YouTube, like, yes, people watch YouTube, but there's a lot of people who still don't watch YouTube. So I think there's so much more opportunity available.
Yeah, I agree. I think I probably only heard about Mr. Beast because Ali Abdaal was talking about him, like, in PTY and stuff. Otherwise, I had zero idea who the hell he was. And even now, I come across accounts of people, and I'm like, oh, this would be nice, like, nice YouTuber or whatever. And I look at their account, and they've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million subscribers, and I'm like, I have no idea who you even are. There's like so many of them. And yeah, there's new people popping up all the time, and I could completely agree. There's so much potential to just blow up if you kind of do your thing.
And there's life cycles as well. I think one thing people don't think about is like, creators don't stay there forever. Yes, there are a few who have, like NKBHD, but most creators, like, they have life cycles of relevancy, and it's like, it ebbs and flows. They come up, and then they'll usually like want to do other things. They'll go behind the scenes in businesses and things like that. So there's always opportunity.
That's a really good point, actually. I never even thought of that. Yeah, people will come do their thing, they have their own thing, and then they'll like leave. That's actually a very good way of looking at it. Okay, hang on. So just going back to your daily vlogging 5 years ago, you're like, hang on, I want to be a YouTuber, right? I'm doing this daily vlog thing. What's it like when you do only have like a few views? How much does that impact you, and how much do you just like keep like? How much do you still want to do it, even though? I'm sure it was more than 2, but like, when there's only a few views on your videos, what's going through your head?
I'm looking at my studio right now to see when the first video I ever posted was, because they're private. October 23rd, 2016, I posted something called Practice Vlog 2.
Title.
So that's when I started to practice. I was like, oh, I want to start creating content, and I think I did like 10 practice vlogs before I posted a public video. But when it comes to nobody watching, I think that's when it decides, why are you doing this, right? If you're doing it for fame and money, you're not going to last very long, unless you have this like determination, like absolute determination. But I think it was like this, it's that natural tendency, innate desire pieces about me. Like, I just had the natural tendency of like, I love recording things. Like, I will keep doing that, whether it's posting on YouTube or just to record for no reason. And then the innate desire to want to be a better storyteller and creator. And I was like, the views don't matter, and the views still don't matter. Like right now, I would not I'm not a big creator. I'm like a micro nano creator right now.
Pretty well, Shervin.
And like the numbers matter because you have to make money to survive, and I want to grow as a creator, but at the same time, like, I don't allow the numbers to define me. I don't go into my YouTube studio and say, oh my god, my circles are solid green, I'm going to be happy today, or my circles are gray, I'm going to be depressed. Like, that's just like a data point of how well I might be performing in the public space, but overall, I just want to create content that I'm proud of, and if I walk away looking at the video, I'm like, oh, like, I enjoyed making that content, whether people watch it or not. As long as I'm doing that for most of my videos, then I think I'm doing something exciting. There are some videos you have to make to produce income, but for most videos, as long as I'm walking away proud and enjoying that I made it, then that's all that matters.
Was that actually always your mindset? Because like you said, you wanted to get into it because you wanted the power, or, you know, you wanted to be like a bit of an ego thing. So when there aren't that many views on your channel, like, does that not get to you? Did you have to reevaluate your why, or were you actually genuinely okay with that mindset going in? Because it feels like,
okay.
like a normal thing for your ego to take a knock, especially if that's why you're getting into it. Because even people that go out and say, hey, I want to do it because even if I help one person, like, that's the most important thing. And I'm not saying that that's not what they want to do, but even like, if I was to say that, I imagine that if I only had 2 or 3 views, I would genuinely be like, oh, I put a lot of effort into that. Why have I only got 2 views? So I feel like it's a bit hard, but maybe you're a much better person than I am.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I guess for me, like, it just, like, it was not something that was in my head. Like, I was like, what's the point of worrying about this? I guess this is the way I thought about it. And I think about a lot of things in life. It's a training ground, right? It's practice. It's like, well, maybe something that people relate to is like dating, for example. Like, if you're trying to find your partner, if you believe in that, you can't get upset over like, oh, bad dates. It's like, I think of each date as a training ground of, this is helping me get to the next date. And it's like, what am I learning from this? So for me, it was like every video, yes, there was like that side of wanting to perform, but I honestly didn't care if there was an audience, because the act of performing was energizing for me. Like, being able to create the video itself made me happy. Like, I didn't really care if anyone watched it.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think I'm looking at it from from me personally, I suppose I've never thought of myself as creative, and to me it's maybe not about like the creativity side as much, which seems really weird to say, but I can see how if you're doing it to improve and like just be creative as a creative outlet, or to just get better at a craft, that actually those things don't matter as much, versus hang on, I you know, not saying that this is my thing, but like, oh, I just want to make it big or something. So actually that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it's also like what gives you that high. Like, what makes you feel good. And for me, it was like, even just like turning on the camera, hitting record, like that little piece of just talking to the camera, I would get a high and like I would feel good. And like, if that for me worked, and I was like, it's like that reward, right? When you feel good, you're like, all right, I want to do that behavior over and over again. Yes, there's also that high when like your video performs well as well, but there was that first step. It's like that recording piece that I got that high and that positive feedback that I just kept repeating.
Yeah. I like the thing that you said about that you made 10 practice vlogs before you actually published the first one. Like, what was your reasoning behind that, and do you recommend that?
Because I was embarrassed. I didn't know what I was doing. And of course I recommend, this is a tough question. I would say it depends on how comfortable and confident you feel about your camera skills, your editing, and how quick you are at noticing patterns and researching other creators and then developing your style. For me, like, I had not talked to it, like holding up the camera and talking to it was really weird. Like, that felt really weird. And for me, I was like, I'm going to do these practice vlogs, I'm going to edit them, and I'm just going to look at them myself and just get the ball rolling, like get the movement going. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to create in public and get that feedback loop from the public eye after I've kind of practiced. I didn't want to like put my first 10 on the public space because I felt like I needed to get the momentum.
I actually think it's a really good idea, and I think it was, I think it's Unjaded Jade. I think Aliyah's told me before that she actually like did a bunch of videos and didn't actually publish any of them, and just got really, really good. And then when she was ready or felt comfortable enough to publish them. She was already really, really good, and then she just like smashed it from video one effectively. Now, obviously, that's not something that like everyone needs to do or is recommended for everyone, I don't think, because everyone's different, and sometimes you do need to hit the publish to maybe hold yourself accountable or something. But I think if you can do that, it's probably not the worst idea in the world. And I kind of like that you did that just to get a bit, like, one, more comfortable with yourself, but just two, of an idea of kind of what you want to do. So yeah, I definitely like that. Okay, so at the time that you were doing YouTube videos, like, whereabouts in your life journey were you? Were you also, I guess, 2016, were you studying or working at that time? And how did that work?
So June 2016, I quit my job. Wow, it's June 2022, so that's 8 years ago. Wow. Almost a decade. So I left my job June 2016, and I gave myself a year to kind of do whatever. And I had that privilege because I saved and invested money, right? I wouldn't just tell people to do that unless you have some kind of like backbone, financial backbone. So I did that, and I had 1 year to kind of just explore life and figure out what interested me, what was exciting to do. And then I started watching YouTube, and I guess October. So it took me 4 or 5 months to kind of finally decide I'm going to create a video, and then actually publishing a video. So it was just like a journey of just like soul searching, I guess, in a way of like, okay, let's go explore and see what's out there.
When you like are in that, was there part of you that wanted to do it full time at that point, or were you just like, hang on, I've got a few months off, this is more of a side project that I'll just delve into and we'll see how it goes? Or was it very much a, hang on, I've quit my job, I'm going to see if I can do this full time right now?
No, yeah, I didn't even know about YouTube. I didn't even think about YouTube as like a thing when I quit my job. All I thought about was quitting my job and finding something that I would enjoy doing on a daily basis. And that's where like it was essentially like, how many side hustles can I pick up? How many fruits can I taste, right? Like I was like, okay, I've been eating this food every single day, and I know I'm not in love with it. How can I go out and taste all the different kinds of foods and see which ones I like? So that was the goal. It was like 1 year to go taste as many things as possible. And one of the things was YouTube creation. Yoga was another one. So there's a whole bunch of things. Teaching swimming was another one. Like, yeah.
So I know yoga has stuck. Were there any others that stuck, or were there any others that were just like terribly, terribly bad?
Yeah, like one of them was I wanted to start a business converting VCR tapes to digital.
Nice.
And I remember I still have the VCR players in my closet at my parents' house. But I bought like 3 of these $500 VCR players. I bought like this thing that helps you convert on your computer. And I did it for one family friend, and then I was like, this is not a great business idea. Like, it takes forever, and like no one really cares enough to convert. And I was like, you have to convince people. And I was like, all right, that idea I scrapped. I started a swim school. So I started teaching private swim lessons to young kids, as well as hiring instructors to help with that. So that one kind of stuck. That was probably the biggest revenue driver at the time. But then I ended up moving cities, so that I kind of let that go, and my business partner took over, and then it kind of just died. And then yoga became kind of the main thing. Yoga was the main dish, and then YouTube was like the side, and that it was like that for about 2 years, and then it turned into a desk job with YouTube as a side, and then now YouTube is the main dish.
Nice. Okay, hang on. So you sound very entrepreneurial. Was the time off to learn new things, or was the time off to see what businesses could be built as like from an entrepreneur point of view?
Yeah, I guess I've always wanted to build businesses. Yeah. That's been like the innate desire as well. So it was that. It was like, what business can I build? And I remember I wanted to study like business in college or uni. Depending on where you're from, you call it different names. And my parents were like, how are you going to make money? And I remember that vividly. And I was like, I don't know, like businesses make money. And I didn't have a good answer. And I didn't have anyone to like go to advice for, or anyone to like kind of help me think about that a little bit more. So I didn't study business, and I studied computer science instead, because that had like a more specific path, and like I knew there would be a job after.
Okay, yeah, I suppose that makes a lot of sense. Like your parents were like, money? Might have been the same. Okay, so I do want to talk about the yoga stuff, but let's just stick on YouTube for a little bit longer, and then I'll come back to it. So I think you've deleted a bunch of stuff. You've already said that you've deleted some things, but you've deleted a bunch of your like older YouTube stuff. What was the YouTube journey like for you during those few years? Like, I know you did a couple of challenges, like you said, but how consistent was it? And at various points did you think, hang on, this isn't it, I'm going to can it? Or, you know, what was kind of going through your mind before, I guess, the last couple of years where it seems to be way more consistent?
It was never that. I think it was just a matter of, it was an ebb and flow of motivation because, you know, I would do these videos and then like I would lose the consistency, but then some of the videos would pop after a little bit and then I'd get that motivation again. I was like, oh, let me do the challenge again. It was very much a spaghetti at the wall approach, which I do not recommend anybody do, unless you're trying to build that momentum. I think once I had some videos pop, I should have capitalized on that and looked at the data and improved. Like if I had a coach who could have walked me through looking at my videos that did well and like kind of built upon that, I probably would have succeeded much earlier. So that's kind of my biggest regret, is not having like a mentor or a coach to guide me through. But yeah, it was just kind of like an ebb and flow of create and then stop and then restart. And I think I had realized that I wanted to create on YouTube. I was like, I am all in. I'm going to figure out how to be a YouTuber. Doesn't matter how long it's going to take me. And I think I had that mindset, and I was like, if I need to just keep doing it on the side while I'm working a regular job, I'll do that. If I need to spend all of my savings to figure out how to make this work, I'm going to do that. If like, that was the mindset. I'm going to make it work. That still is the mindset.
Yes, well, I think it's working now. I can't speak for a few years ago, but like definitely. Okay, in that case, let's switch back to yoga, because obviously that's the other thing that you started at that time. So how was that journey? Why did you choose yoga in the first place, and how did that kind of evolve?
Yeah, so when I quit my job, I was like, you know, explore, and one of the things that I explored was yoga, and I just started like practicing yoga, like going to a yoga studio, and I felt really good after every class. Like I'd walk away and I was like, I feel, you know, going back to the feeling of high, the natural uplift, I felt really good after these classes. So I was like, oh, I like this. So I kept doing it, right? And then someone was like, you should teach yoga. I was like, no, it's not for me. But then I was like, I do, right? I have the innate desire of being on stage. And I was like, maybe teaching yoga could help me become a better YouTube creator because I'm practicing being on stage. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I started teaching yoga, and then I became full-time teaching yoga. And then like I moved to help open up a yoga studio. And then I moved to work full-time at the yoga company. So that was kind of the journey there. And then I was like, whoa. It all went so fast, and I kept like taking these opportunities, and I was like, oh, my YouTube channel is not getting as much time and love as I wanted it to. So I was like, all right, let's take a step back and kind of reset and understand what my main goals were. But that was kind of my yoga journey.
And when you opened up this like new studio, was that you as like doing it as a partner or like with this business rather than you working for somebody else?
No, I was working for somebody else. It was kind of like they had a process in place, and I was like one of the managers to help make that process work. So
you were comfortable with YouTube being your entrepreneurial kind of outlet rather than trying to find it somewhere else. Okay, so that's still the dream. At this point, that was still the dream.
It's still the dream. It will always be the dream. I am till the day I die.
I love this. I need some of this because I don't have this, and I'm listening to you. I'm like, shit. Why don't I have this? I need this. I feel like I would make so much more stuff if I had this.
But you can't fabricate it. You have to find it. I think that's where that 1 year that I took off, it was like this searching of like, where's that one thing where it's like, if I were like do or die, like that's what I'm gonna do. And for me, that was like creating videos and storytelling, and YouTube was the platform because I just loved watching YouTube. So it's all about finding that. Yeah,
where in that 12 months did you find you find it really early on, or did you do like 12 other things before you actually even got to YouTube?
I did other things, like, you know, the VCR business, the swim school, and I traveled a little bit. You know, you got to do the classic millennial soul searching. I traveled for about like 6 weeks across Europe and Asia. So there's a lot of that as well. Okay. And then, yeah, it was like, because I was bored. I think being bored is also a superpower that people don't utilize. I was bored, and it was the greatest thing ever because I was like, what do I do? And I just started watching YouTube, and there were some creators that were blowing up at that time, and that's kind of what inspired me. I was like, oh, I loved watching this. How can I create this?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I never get bored. I can literally sit. I'm the type of person that could watch paint dry and be like, cool, I'm that sad. But out of interest, what were the kind of creators that you were watching then? I know we've just talked about Casey Neistat, but like, what are the other ones that kind of jumped out and inspired you? Where's this going?
Because I think a lot of the creators that I enjoyed were controversial.
Okay, well, what it is.
I'll sandwich them. So I guess one of the big creators was like Gary Vee. I really liked his stuff. It was very much like document your entrepreneurial journey, so I would do that. Another creator was Logan Paul. I think he has a great aptitude for like creating entertaining content, and it was very different at that time than it is now. Exactly. David Dobrik, that comedic factor. I think anything that makes you laugh. Yes Theory was another big one. Okay. I remember going on a retreat with them and like building houses in Nicaragua and like vlogging that. I went to like Matt's Dahar's like birthday party once. They invited strangers. So like there were cool little things like that I did. And I was like, oh, how can I surround myself with other creators? And I guess those were kind of the top 4 probably. Casey Neistat.
How did you end up like building houses out there? Like, that sounds really cool.
I think Yes Theory was at like 200,000 to 400,000 subscribers, still a small channel.
Right.
And they did a retreat. They like partnered with this company to do a retreat, and they invited their subscribers to come. And I remember it was like $2,500, and I had no job, and you had to pay for the flights on top of that. And I was like, I have to go on this trip. So I burned my savings to go on the trip, and it was like one of the coolest things ever because I built the house with Amar, and it's like looking back, like that is such a cool experience.
That is very cool. And also the mindset to be, because again, and I always come back to me because like, that's my point of reference, but like I'd be like, shit, I don't have many savings yet. But what I love about this is that you've kind of gone, hang on, no, I need to do this. This is worth it to me. How do you make that decision? It sounded like it was an easy decision, maybe, but like what are the things that are going through your head to say, is this worth it? Is there any future, is there any ROI thing you're kind of weighing up, or you're just like in the moment, hang on, this is super cool, I just really want to do this, I'm just going to do this?
Yeah. Gary Vee has this really funny quote. It's like, sometimes you can't measure the ROI. Like, what's the ROI of your mom? Like, you can't measure that, but like, there's so many great things, right? So.
Oh, I might try that.
How much
are you worth?
It was like the mindset of like the hell yes or no mindset, where if something comes up and it's like a hell yes, you do it. If it's like a yes, you don't do it. I don't know. There was just like this gut feeling that like I knew that I wanted to create on YouTube, and I was like, I'm not that good of a creator yet. How do I surround myself with people that are? And these are some creators that I know will blow up in the future, and they did. And I was like, how can I put myself near them? It's like buying property in Miami when it's cheap. I was like, how can I do that? Obviously, I didn't keep in touch with them and like continue building a relationship, but I did get to know like Zach, their manager, and like we will chat here and there online. Yeah. But I've had this feeling that one day I will look back, or one day there will be a reason that I want to interact with them in the future, or something will come up where like I will need their YouTube support, and going to this retreat and having that connection could be valuable. There hasn't been like oh my god, because I went on that retreat, they responded to my DM about a YouTube collaboration, but who knows? Maybe there will be. We'll look back on this podcast and see if my gut feeling was right or not.
That's one of the things I love about doing this is it's not like, oh, I need a favor in the future necessarily, or I want to do this. It's just about making those, like, I'm going to use connections. It's not like as weird as that, but like just speaking to people in like like you said, surrounding yourself with other content creators. Because when I do talks like this, it's just like I just feel motivated and inspired again, and it's almost like a weekly kick up the backside. And yes, I haven't taken full advantage of it, but like it's still a little dose every week to go, hang on, this is what you want to do. And with that, like I know that when I step away from a few weeks, that motivation goes down, and that kind of thing it's just so much harder to get back up. Whereas I do this and I speak to people like yourself, and it's like, oh, this is so cool. Like people are out there doing it. That's what I want to do. I just want to keep going. So yeah, you're right. It doesn't necessarily have to have like a monetary value or a favor for a favor value or an ROI. It's like, hang on, I just know this is the right thing, and yeah, this is what I want to do. So this is very cool.
I think there's this guy that's really good. I think his name is like Ali Abdal or something. He's
he's okay.
I love that he is like an expert in systems, right? For me, it was like motivation always went up and down, and I subscribe to the thought of like create systems so that way you can like have this, like for working out, for example, like how can I create a system where I'm consistently going in the gym whether I feel like it or I don't feel like it. And I try to apply that same approach to like content creation and YouTube. It's like, how can I have a system to constantly be creating? And then 100% like surrounding yourself with other creators, like the 5 chimps theory. Have you heard of that before?
I don't think so.
It's like, the people you surround yourself with, you become more like. And,
yes,
I think they did a test where they put like a whole bunch of chimps together and, their behavior became similar as they spent time together. So I'm a big believer in surrounding myself with chimps I want to be like. Humans, I should say. People.
You call me a chimp? No,
No.
I didn't realize that's where it came from. I've heard that you are the 5 people that you like spend the most time with, kind of thing, but I hadn't realized that had an underlying scientific, like, thing with it. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I like personally, I haven't quite found my YouTube system, but that's why I like doing the podcast, because I book it in and I turn up. Like that's the system, right? If there's someone scheduled to come on, I'm going to be there, and that. Once they're recorded, I'm not going to not publish that episode. So the work that has to go behind it has to go behind it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking of, what are your systems? Because obviously we know during that time it was kind of inconsistent. How did that inconsistency turn into consistency? And how are we kind of getting to, the last year or so?
My systems are not that good. Right now,
No.
I have one hard and fast rule. Publish a video Sunday. That's it.
Okay.
I'm working on my systems right now. Like I was actually trying to detail it out, but I want to have, some people have like, this is my scripting day, my thumbnail day, my video day. Yep. I'm trying to develop a system where it's like, I can validate my thumbnail and title. Like, okay, this is my system. I guess this is my system right now. It's like, I have a list of ideas and topics I want to create videos about, pick a topic, brainstorm 100 title ideas around that one word topic. And then take those 100 ideas, pick like the best 20, and then kind of test that with friends, filter down like the top 5, and then create thumbnails based around that. And then test the title thumbnail combinations with some friends, like about 10 friends. If I get a majority consensus, then move forward with scripting and writing the video.
Wow.
So that's the process I'm trying to implement. I haven't fully implemented it because what happens if your idea is invalidated or you take so much time to create that title thumbnail? So I'm trying to time box it.
Okay,
yeah.
that's fair. It did sound very time consuming as you were talking to her. I was like, oh my god, this is so much work.
Yeah.
But that's because that's where I always go. Okay, hang on, let me take this a step back then. So I realised I asked a question. Let's come back to systems a little bit. You kind of go back, you kind of did the yoga thing then, and then I guess you passed that over or left that again. Was it at that point that you started retaking YouTube seriously and started, and I guess what I'm saying is where you said your hard and fast rule of I post every Sunday, when did that come into play and why?
That's a good question. There's also 2 different schools of thought. One is post amazing content when you can, and then post consistently. I subscribe to the post consistently mindset because that's just who I am. And it started in December, I guess January. I took another course through Daryl Eves, and he consults Mr. Beast, and he's like co-owner of a lot of like YouTube channels, and like his team was like, Shervin, you need to post consistently. And I was like, all right, because I've seen the amount of success of the variety of niches that they've been able to grow, I felt like if I listen to this, I will grow. And that's kind of, since then, I was like, I need to post weekly. Yes, the quality might suffer a little bit, but that's all subjective. As long as I get 80% done, post weekly, and so far, like, it's worked. Like, I'm seeing a slight uptrend in terms of like my growth and baselines, and for me, that's a good sign.
Yes. When you say January, you mean January of this year?
Yes.
Okay. So, what? Okay, sorry. 2 avenues to go down here. Okay,
yeah.
So you then decide to post consistently, and I guess at this time you then don't have another job. Is this now like, hey, I can do YouTube full time, January, I'm going to put my all into it, consistency, just 1 video a week?
So I actually quit in like November, December. So I quit before I started being consistent.
Okay.
Yeah, right? That doesn't make sense. Well, I was still posting, but like I was looking at my December YouTube posting, and like I posted 3 videos one week, nothing the next week. And it was just like this weird thing of like, oh, I have these great videos, let's get them all out there right away.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I need to post consistently. Even if I get ahead, just schedule it out. Don't post them all because you think they're great videos and they need to be out. Unless it's like, there's a big reason or exception to do that. So that's kind of what I did. And I was like, I need to post consistently. If this is my full-time job, then I need to treat it like that, and I need to have deadlines. And that for me was posting once a week.
Yeah, I think the posting once a week, sticking to that is actually like it's probably the best thing for 90% of people to do anyways, just to post consistently if they want to grow on YouTube. But also that is like a system in itself, right? If you can genuinely stick to that, everything else will fall into place. If you say, hey, I'm going to post a video every Sunday, you know that it's got to go out. Like Carmen Medic, who was on a couple of weeks ago, said the same thing. Like since he started, he's uploaded every single Thursday, with maybe like 5 weeks exception when he was ill or studying, and he's just hit 1 million subscribers. So it clearly works if you improve. So I think that in itself is actually a very, very good rule to have, as long as you stick to it.
Also,
go on.
Just to add on to that, because everyone will give advice, and people will only give advice for the things that worked for them. So take all advice with a grain of salt. What works for me, what works for Carmen Medic, might not work for you.
No, 100%. I know that when I was posting in my very brief YouTube stint, I said that no matter what, I would get a video out every week, and I don't know if it was on Monday or Tuesday. And when I was bought into that philosophy, you're right, it worked for me. So I kind of relate to you guys and then go, hang on, that worked, until it got all too much, and I was like, fine. But the only reason I say that is because once exceptions come in, it's very easy for you to start making exceptions every week. But you're right, on the flip side, if you are the type of person who will get a video out and you don't need the kick up the backside to put videos out, but you are really good at making videos, it's fine if you spend 3 weeks, because even publishing a video every 3-4 weeks is still consistent in itself. If you can stick to that, then do it. I think the problem is that most people, once it gets to 2, 3, 4 weeks, are like, I just won't do anything because they've fallen off. And I suppose that is the slight difference. But you're right, everyone is different. Do whatever works for you.
Mark Rober posts monthly, right? Insane. Every video blows up.
Exactly. It definitely works for some people. Everyone is different. Niche is the other thing I kind of wanted to touch on, because you obviously started with vlogs and stuff, and I think you still do the occasional vlog, but your content now is very much different to that. So where along the line did it change, and what was the reason for the change?
I think it all came down to what worked. If I posted a video, it's kind of like a reward system, I guess, and you see the views and all that go up, then it's oh, I should do more of that. I remember I got demotivated once, and one of my videos blew up. It was about a mattress, and I was like, oh, that's so cool, it got 60,000 views, all right, I'm gonna create another video about that product because it worked. Sorry, what was the question again?
At what point did you kind of figure out your niche? Because at the moment your content seems to all be it has its own niche about kind of living a better life and the health kind of side, but also products that fit into that. But you started with vlogs, so what was that journey of finding your niche, and where exactly did it change?
Yeah, the performance thing. It was seeing the videos about X types of products perform well. So then I would repeat that, and then I was okay, now I think this is my niche. It's health, fitness, technology. And then it was just okay, I'll keep creating content about these things. And I still kind of stray. I'm not very good at staying in my lane, but I'm getting better at that. But it was once I realized that these types of videos performed well, I kept trying to rinse and repeat. Yeah.
Where do you sit on the kind of spectrum, and I think it is a spectrum, of kind of putting videos out to please the algorithm? I mean, no one knows what the algorithm is, so I'm not saying that there is a set formula, but optimizing for the algorithm versus making content that you want to make.
Yeah, that's a great point. One thing is I always like to change algorithm for audience, because the whole purpose of the algorithm is to find the right audience. So I try to optimize for the audience, right? And so I guess if I were to say that, it would be how would I choose between making videos for my quote-unquote target audience versus making videos that I purely enjoy. I think in the stage that I'm at right now, because this is my full-time thing and I want to survive and feed myself and pay my rent financially, my 80% focus is making videos that will perform well with my audience and provide them value, maybe even 100%. And every video I make, like, the goal is to enjoy making it, but at the same time, I need to make, I guess that's part of the filter, right? I filter my ideas on things that I would enjoy making,
Yes.
that would please my audience, right? So that's kind of, but the primary goal is create content for people that would enjoy it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think, like, if I had a channel, that's kind of where I'd sit too. It's because I think there are some people that are like, hang on, I'm just gonna like go after the algorithm. It's cool. I don't really matter what I'm making as long as I'm making something. There are other people that are like, I only want to make what I want to make. But there is this kind of fine line if you want to grow, but also kind of keep some level of sanity, I suppose.
Yeah. Like packaging, like you can package like a vlog that you enjoy making in a way that would tier and interest people, and then you found the right balance.
That's a really good point. So you obviously, so YouTube is your full-time job now, and you're obviously sustaining yourself from YouTube. At what point was the change into getting monetized, and how has that kind of monetization journey been for you?
Yeah, I would clarify that a job is one that pays you, so I don't know if I would say it's a job for it's almost a job for me. Okay, YouTube does pay me. I just like to crack that joke. What was my journey to monetization? I make some money. I don't make enough money, and it also fluctuates. But once I hit that 1,000 subscribers, and I had the watch hours, but I needed to hit the 1,000 subscribers. Once I hit that, I actually was monetized, and then they created that rule, and then I lost monetization, and then I was like, I need to get back on, because even the $2 a day was like motivating for me. And yeah, I just focused on growing my subscribers. I got theirs, and then it was like YouTube ads. I think I was making like $30 a month. It grew to like 100, and then I hit like 500 was my peak at some point, but I only had like 2,000 subscribers, and then it dropped down. And it's kind of fluctuated between the 200 to 500 range since then. But that's purely YouTube ads. Majority of my revenue comes from affiliate links. So if I make a video about a product, the link's in the description, they click that and I get X percentage. So that was like the biggest eye-opening thing, was like, oh wow, affiliate revenue makes so much more money than the YouTube ad revenue. How do I focus on increasing that so that I can, because I have an editor that's like part-time on Upwork, and can I pay them? How can I use that money to buy more products? How can I use that money for XYZ?
I'll come back to the editor piece in a second, but I guess you've mentioned affiliate links there. Do you also have sponsorships that you've kind of dealt with?
A little bit. I haven't done any sponsorships, but I've had people reach out and want to do it.
Okay.
There's nothing has felt right, and I think sponsorships you should only do if the money exceeds the kind of like potential minimal for growth, because each sponsorship is going to impede my growth, so it's got to be worth it.
That's fair. What would you consider worth it then? I mean, not necessarily monetary value, but like what would fall into the hang on, this would be the right thing if this came along?
I think there's multiple factors. One is like the brand. If I love the product, great. So that's like, let's say there's a number. Let's say $10,000 for a sponsorship. If I love the brand, all right, drop the price by $2,000. If the video has viral potential, like I want to make that video already, and then just incorporating the brand makes sense because like I want to make that video, and then that maybe the video includes the brand. Cool, drop it another $2,000. So that's kind of how I would think about it. It's kind of the viral potential. Can this video grow my audience? And do I love the brand?
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Going back to the editor thing then, when in your journey did you bring on an editor, and what was your thought process around that, and how long did you and if at all, over it?
Yeah, I always wanted to outsource the editing piece because I just struggle to stay seated and edit unless I'm like in the zone and it's like 10 hours of editing. On and off. When I was working full time, I was like, oh, I'll use all this money to hire an editor. So I had an editor, and I was doing kind of like, what are YouTube Shorts now? I would do like these IGTV videos, daily vlogs, and someone would edit that for me. But then I like, that editor, I've probably gone through like 5 to 7 editors, and I've been with this editor for almost a year now. And yeah, I've been working with them, and it's like we kind of know the rhythm and like my style, so it's kind of worked out so far. But it just took a lot of time to kind of figure out who the right editor was. And at the same time, I think if you're a creator, you need to know what you want to create before you outsource it. A lot of people try to figure that out while they're outsourcing it. But if you don't really know your format or how you want to edit, it's really hard to tell someone to do it for you.
Yeah, so you definitely recommend people editing themselves for a little while to figure that out before they kind of...
I think it depends, right? It's like, what are your goals? If your goal is just to have someone create the video and you don't want to really think about like how the vibe and the feeling is, great, outsource it right away. But if your goal is to create videos that like you want to have control of the entire experience and the feel of the video, I would say edit first, so that you can, like, the whole point of outsourcing is to be like, I know this is the step-by-step process I'm doing. Here's the step-by-step process, you do it for me. Rather than, I don't know what I'm doing, make it look pretty.
Yeah.
There's two different ways, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. The other thing you were talking... Actually, no, sorry. Just to finish off on hiring. Is there anybody else that you've hired for or would be looking to hire for kind of in the not too far future? Or are you kind of happy with the editor setup?
No, I want to get more editors, and always, you know, because I post weekly and it's hard to kind of have the output and the speed and the pace of getting that done. So always looking for editors. And then ideally, like, you know, some kind of like production or / assistant to help with like the prep work behind things, managing emails and things like that. And then at some point, someone who can like negotiate business deals and get sponsorships.
So definitely ready to start expanding the team.
Yeah, I want to grow a team. Like, I know some creators like to do it themselves. I want to kind of grow a team and, you know, pay people to be my friend.
Aww. Okay, that's fair. I'd have to do the same, to be honest. Okay. So, kind of like in your, I guess, 5-6 years on YouTube, what have been the biggest struggles for you? Because you're like, outside looking in and based on this conversation, it sounds like, I don't mean it was smooth sailing, but you seem to have like kind of just got into a rhythm and done what you could at various points, and then you've kind of gone into it and gone, yeah, this is kind of cool, I'm now full time. But like, where were the struggles for you?
Definitely not smooth sailing. I heard this really great quote that I tell myself sometimes. It's a process of every single day you wake up, you hit your head against the wall, and you cry yourself to sleep. So that's kind of the daily routine. until you know, I don't want to say until I figured it out, but until like I figured it out a little bit more each time, and I feel like it's still that process to this day. Is like, it's not easy. Like, it's hard, and that's what it feels like. Like, yeah, from the outside it might look easy or like a smooth sailing, but every day I wake up and I hit my head against the wall and I cry myself to sleep. I don't actually do all those things because I would lose my brain cells if I hit my head against the wall.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. But that's kind of how it feels like from the inside.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
What's one of the like most surprising things of all, one of the most unexpected things about YouTube that you've now realized that you perhaps didn't before?
That creators are people too. I'm not a big creator, but I still create content, and like I'll interact with people who will watch my content, or they'll message me, or I see them in person, and it's like they look at you in a way that's like, oh my god, you were just on my laptop and now you're here, and like they put you on a pedestal, and I did that for sure with creators. I've gotten better at not doing that, but that was kind of the realization of like, you know, these are just regular people like me. Like, I don't want to say this, but there's nothing exceptional about a lot of these people. They're just regular fucking people. Maybe I'm not allowed to cuss.
You are.
They're just regular people. They're just regular people.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I think I've recently also had the same thing. And that's not to say that you don't still admire and respect these people. Like, they're still, you know, like if you want to put them on a pedestal, it's like they're 10 steps ahead of you in the creator journey or something. But you're right, they are ultimately people at the end of the day, and there's, yeah, I think you just need to remember that, and you have a conversation with them. It's like, oh, cool, you would maybe where I was 2 years ago or something, and
exactly,
that's cool. and,
yes.
And actually, that's just motivating to say, hey, I can be in your space, you know, whenever. Nice,
yeah.
That's cool. Any parting words of wisdom or advice to people who want to get into YouTube now or are just starting?
Ooh. Based on my experience, this is my specific advice, take it with a pound of salt. I I would do two things. I would find friends who are also in it to win it and collaborate with each other and exchange ideas. And then two, I'd find someone who's like a couple steps ahead of you who can kind of help guide you, because it's really easy to, like, if you're trying to train for a triathlon or for a race, right? And you don't know how to run, like, yeah, you can go watch YouTube videos and figure it out on your own. But if you find a coach, right, it's going to accelerate your growth so much faster. So if you can find a coach, a mentor who can help you, the right one, not just anyone, and that's going to take experience, right? There's a lot of like running coaches who might not be that great, and some who are amazing. So it's about experimenting, finding the right one, and that's like my biggest advice is like finding a mentor and a coach.
Cool. Just a slight follow up on that. If people were to actually do that, how would you propose that they go about doing that? Like if someone was listening to this and going, actually, that's a really good idea. Like, what's their next step?
It's like outreach. Kind of the way I like, you know, they don't have to be direct mentors. Like what I do is I'll DM people on Instagram who I know live in my area, and I'll ask them out to coffee. And it's like I try to develop a relationship and then but like, you know, leverage that opportunity to ask them for advice. It's like, hey, what do you think of this title thumbnail? Or like, I'm struggling with this and I've tried XYZ. Do you have any advice on where to go next? Or things like that. And it's like, get a coach. DMing people on Instagram, look at creators you like and DM them. Obviously, like if you DM Ali Abdal, he's more than likely he's not going to say yes to mentoring you unless you sign up for his program. But finding people who, they don't have to be the biggest creator, but they're just a couple steps ahead of you, right? If you're at 1,000 subscribers, find someone at 10. If you're at 10, find someone at 100 and use that. And then, I had another thought, but I forgot what it was.
No, that's cool. I like that, and I like that kind of point of, like, I'm not going to turn around and like message Tim Ferriss or something and be like, hey, can you help me with my podcast? Because that's going to go nowhere.
Yes.
But I might
and this is my thought. And Google is a great mentor. Google it first. Try, like, a lot of people will be like, oh, so like, what camera do you recommend? Like, don't waste people's time on asking questions like this. Google it first, and if you can't figure it out on the internet, and then go ask your coach, your mentor, and say, hey, I Googled it, and these were the top cameras that I found. I'm not sure which one to pick. What would you recommend? Like, make sure you've done your homework and you've tried it on your own using the almighty Google, and then go and ask.
That's a really, really good point, because that's one of the things that really frustrates me. Not that I get questions all the time, but like even like throughout your career or whatever at work, it's one of those things that people don't want you to come with just problems, right? You come with a solution or something and be like, it's fine if you still have a question, but if you've done put some kind of effort into it and done some kind of research in the first place, that's cool. And you're right, 9 times out of 10, Google will give you your answer, and then you can ask better questions that are more suitable, and you'll get a better answer from those people that you're reaching out to, because it's more specific to them rather than like you said, hey, what camera do you think I should buy? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Shervin, I think that's a very, very good note to end on. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out. This was very cool, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was an honor to be on here, and I hope it was valuable to somebody.
It was definitely valuable. Thank you so much.